And we welcome you to episode 118 of the 214 Sports Show. Thank you for joining us. If it's your first time, this is your spot for all things DFW sports. Glad you could join us. My name is Joseph Duffey. As always, I'm joined with my wonderful co-host and TJ Krilowicz. TJ, how you doing this weekend?
I'm doing wonderful, just like you explained me as I'm it's a good week. The Rangers, they're going back to being just mediocre, but hey, Jalen Brunson is an NBA champion. The World Cup is in Dallas now. So there's a few things to be a little bit happy about.
Yeah, speaking of Dallas, they call the AT&T Stadium Dallas Stadium now. FIFA doesn't allow for the sponsorship of a stadium to take over and
And
be a main
turf,
part of main part of
no
the
turf.
promotion. So yeah, no turf. Also, there's a tent on the glass, so there's not that big glare that we see that's classic in Cowboys games. They're doing everything that they could be doing for Cowboys games and catering to these soccer players here in this World Cup. But there's a whole lot of great sports going on. As you were talking about, the NBA finals just ended. We also have the UFC that just happened also on Sunday. You also had, the World Cup just starting, but you have the NHL Stanley Cup final that's still going on.
Mhm.
Hopefully, we'll see what happens as we're recording this on a Sunday evening if Vegas stays alive, but we'll see. A lot of great sports going on, but as you were touching on, Jalen Brunson is officially NBA champion, and I'm happy for him. I am happy for him. I know that
Yeah.
maybe for some Mavs fans, it's a mixed reaction because he was supposed to be a guy here that was long term with Luka Doncic. Now you have guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, Jason Tatum, and other young stars that Luka was in the conversation with. That Luka was supposed to get a title before some of those other guys, and now Jalen Brunson bet on himself. Proud of him for doing that, going to New York after his dad got that assistant coaching gig under Tom Thibodeau, and he has them breaking the longest drought in quite some time. Since 1973, the Knicks hadn't won an NBA championship. Finally, they host the O'Brien Trophy. It's surreal. It's hard to see. It's hard to even fathom that a decade ago. But the Knicks are NBA champions, and Jalen Brunson was the leader of men that led them to that.
Yeah, and you can say whatever you want about Jalen Brunson if you're angry that he left, but it doesn't sound like it was his fault at all. It sounds like it was the Mavericks malpractice, and I mean well, I guess if you don't know, yeah, he was offered I think a 4-year, $55 million extension with the Mavericks. He kind of laughed it off, said he would test the NBA free agency. He was able to get a max contract with the Knicks, and now he's an NBA champion. Um, and even I still think that the Mavericks right now, they still are technically in a good position. Cooper Flag, obviously would not be on the Mavericks if Jalen Brunson was still on this roster, and obviously Kyrie Irving wouldn't be on the roster. And you could say that obviously Jalen Brunson younger is better than Kyrie Irving, has led a team to an NBA championship. Kyrie Irving, of course, having LeBron James and Kevin Love as his teammates back in 2016 when he did it. But I mean, I don't think the Mavericks make the 2024 finals if Jalen Brunson's the starting point guard over Kyrie Irving, and you can disagree with me there if you want to, but I don't think Brunson and Luka together was as good of a duo as Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic was. And so I don't think Brunson would have grown to be the global superstar that he is now if he was still in the Mavericks. So I think the main lesson that we've learned from this is tampering wins. Tampering wins. All the Knicks got was a little slap on the wrist for tampering the signed Jalen Brunson. And again, it doesn't sound like he was coming back to the Mavericks anyways, but that's what you got to do. The Mavericks get on it.
It goes back to the old topic we've talked about many times over. Like you touched on it perfectly. How I don't know if Jalen Brunson would be the player he is today without betting on himself like that, going to New York. Would he be that same player with another ball dominant guard in Luka Doncic? The reason, of course, that um, he ended up going was they want Luka to get his money. The Dallas Mavericks front office wanted Luka to get his money, and then you have Nico Harrison ended up not even wanting Luka in the long run after helping the team get to the finals with Kyrie Irving, as you were talking about, a really well balanced roster. So you end up having none of the guys, and so there is a bright side knowing that there would not be a Cooper Flag without Jalen Brunson leaving without Luka Doncic also getting traded away by Nico Harrison. So it's just weird how all that history works. James Dolan, after they hoisted the trophy, had that nice line talking about New York fans. I'm sorry it took so long because a decade ago, as I was saying, this was inconceivable. The New York Knicks NBA champions. Are you kidding me? And then we talked about 2 weeks ago, I believe, about Becky Hammon saying, a little guard can never really lead a team to an NBA championship. And it looks like he's really proved her wrong. We haven't really seen something like this in a while. Now, he does have a great cohort with him. It's not just like he did it by himself, sure, but what we saw in that game clinching matchup was nothing short of incredible. 45 points, I believe,
Mhm.
to clinch the title in San Antonio. When you look at this San Antonio team, man, you talk about just pissing down your leg multiple times over. Plenty of chances to win. They led the majority of the games percentage wise. And we were clowning on Kenny Atkinson for saying, analytically we've won most of these games. Well, it seemed like statistically the Spurs were the front runner for all of these games, and just the last 6 minutes of each fourth quarter, they just lost their ways. Do you
Oh
blame
yeah.
that on their youth, or do you blame that just on just coaching malpractice? What do you think?
All the pissing down their leg, I think it comes down to the players, and I think it comes down to their mental mountain. The climb was beating Oklahoma City in that Game 7 victory.
I mean, they were
Um,
crying. They were crying after that
they
game,
were
man. It looked like they
crying.
won the championship.
I know they were crying, and you can. I mean, it's. I don't know. I mean, I don't hate emotion at all. I think it's actually a pretty good thing for players to have, obviously. I don't mind it. I remember when the Warriors used to win the Western Conference Finals every single year, and by the time, like in 2018, uh, by that time they'd won the Western Conference Finals, and they were just standing there. They weren't even celebrating. And I was pissed off about that, honestly. I was
It's
like,
how the
this is like
Dodgers look now.
all the other teams would have been so happy to make it to the NBA Finals. They just see it as another, just another year for them. And so, I mean, I don't mind it at all. I don't think that that's the big reason why. I know, bringing it back to some Dallas teams, the Rangers, when they celebrated with the champagne when they clinched the playoffs, came back the next day and did not. They laid an egg against the Mariners and they couldn't win the division. That was a big thing. Everybody was talking about them being shouldn't have celebrated the night before and stuff. Um, I don't think it really affects their play or it's one night they can celebrate. They still had a at least four, I think 3 days before the NBA Finals started after that Game 7. So they had a lot of time to rebuild and get back to being focused on their main goal. And I think it was just, yeah, I think it was an experience there. I think it just had to be an experience. They realize they're going to be back, obviously. They have a
They will be back.
trajectory to be at the top of the Western Conference for the next 10, 15 years, bearing Wemby stays healthy. And, I think they'll be back. The Knicks, Spurs, I wouldn't be surprised if that's another NBA Finals down the road in a few years from now, even next year, if they have another rematch. So, they'll be back.
We
They'll be
talked
all
about
right.
last week how these guys are pretty much ahead of schedule. We did not expect, at least I'll speak for myself here, I did not expect that the Spurs would make the finals this quick in the Wemby era.
Spurs are
It's
the luckiest
unbelievable to
franchise
watch.
in the entire world.
I mean, it's unreal, man. Like, how in the world did
They'll
these
be all
guys
right.
get? They will be fine. And I was talking with some Knicks fans on the night of the clincher, how yeah, the Spurs will be right back. They're a winning organization. They've had this bad drought of not making the playoffs in the last 7, 8 years. But as they make it here, I think it's just the New York Knicks' time. It's their time. And by the way, as we were talking about, yeah, this is a young, inexperienced roster for the Spurs that will be back. This is a pretty veteran-led Knicks team. We have a guy like Brunson who's 29. Cat is 30-ish years old. Mikal Bridges has been in the league plenty years.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of guys you can say are the future of the Knicks. Like their prime is right now,
Yeah.
and this is a veteran-led team that has been in some high-pressure situations in the past that have playoff experience. And you saw it in the fourth quarter of every single one of these finals games, man. The Spurs just looked lost, man.
Hmm.
Lost. Wemby missing big clutch free throws, not just in that 29 point choke they had in Madison Square Garden, but even the clincher in San Antonio, missing that first free throw that could have helped cut the lead. So. Don't
Yeah.
learn from this for sure. But this Knicks team's just fun to watch, man. Fun to watch. And Jalen Brunson was the big part of that. I never thought I was very salty. I admit. I don't know if you remember, but I was very salty when he initially left. Because I thought it was just very selfish for him. I did not believe that he could be a lead guy, a main guy in New York of all places. How much pressure they have for their sports teams. But he just proved so many people wrong, including myself, and I'm proud of the guy. He's had a heck of a career. And the Villanova Knicks find a way to break one of the longest droughts in championship history for the NBA. So good for them, man. Good for
Too
them.
bad you're not tweet or you weren't tweeting back then either. I would have loved to come back to 2022 when he left the Mavericks and have a Joseph Duffy tweet where he's this guy is the most selfish player
It
that
made
ever
me
put on a
so
Mavericks
mad.
jersey. I'm glad he is gone. He will never lead a team to a title.
Thing is, like you could see flashes back then when you remember when Luca was hurt initially in the playoffs against the
Yeah.
Jazz. And you had Brunson looking like a star player, had a 40-point game, in a game where Maxi Kleber had, of course, a lot of threes and home. Because after that,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
remember it as the Maxi Kleber game.
yeah, the Maxi Kleber game for sure. Because Bojan Bogdanovic had that crazy game one, and I was like, okay, Luka's gone, Bogdanovic is cooking, Mitchell and Gobert are having their way. This series is over. And then Jalen Brunson finds a way to really hold the fort until Luka comes back. And
Hmm.
so I was like, if he could do that, he could be a good 1B guy. I think he could, I didn't think he could be the guy. So good for him. Uh, I guess it's only just beginning for him. I don't know if they'll win back to back. I don't know if I'll go that far. But they're champions in 2026. And it's been a long time coming for Spike Lee and Ben Stiller, some faithful fans sitting there front row at Madison Square Garden. So good for them.
So much
But
LARPing with this. I know that they were big fans for a long time, but man, it's just hey, the thing is that we know a few LARPers for the Spurs too. It just
Oh
happens
yes.
with
Oh
every major
yes.
franchise that makes a big run. People just hop on that bandwagon so quickly. So,
Oh
I mean, I'm
yeah.
kind of glad, good that this NBA Finals talk, I still enjoyed it. I still watched a few of the games and stuff, but I'm glad that the hype around it will start to die down because I'm tired of seeing Spurs and Knicks stuff on my story from people that I didn't even know were Spurs or Knicks fans.
Of course. Of course. Where were you these last few years, Spurs fans? Where were you? I didn't see your jerseys out here walking around. All of a sudden you
Oh,
have
it's crazy
Wembanyama
in Austin.
jerseys.
They're everywhere.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Moving on to the Texas Rangers and TJ, we talked about this team was really heating up. They won some series that they weren't supposed to. In our last episode, we saw how they won a great series against the Guardians. Again, they won their fourth straight series
Yep.
against the Royals this past week. And then they went back to Fenway, a place that has not been a house of horrors for the Rangers, but it seems like they sure do lose every series they
I
go
would
there.
call it a house of horrors. I
It's
would.
unreal. It's unreal. It doesn't make sense to me. We're recording this before the primetime game on Sunday night, but just know the series is already won in Boston's favor. They smacked the Rangers around 10-1 on Friday, and then the offense didn't help out Jacob deGrom and his nice quality start on Saturday. And it's just unreal, man, how every single time we play the Red Sox in Fenway, it's like this team is unrecognizable. Even a Boston team that is not nearly as good, not even a wild card contender, you think this year that's fired their whole staff. Still, this team cannot win in Boston. What have you seen that's caught your eye over this Rangers team in this Boston series in this last few games?
It's just not being able to carry on momentum. I mean, the Red Sox, although they have not really bounced back from their terrible start at the start of the season, they still have they became more competent. And even then, this pitching staff that they're letting out, great pitching staff. But the Royals at the same time put out a pretty good, decent pitching staff. Obviously, their offense wasn't as good as Boston, and so the Rangers were able to win the series. They really really struggle on the road offensively. We've seen that. I thought the St. Louis series was going to change that a little bit, but it's still continued. Um, you know. getting 1 run, 3 runs in the first two series in a very hitter friendly ballpark, especially for the amount of some of the lefties that we have in our lineup. Not a big fan of how this team has came into Boston, obviously. That's not a controversial opinion or not. A good thing is that they have two home series coming up, and that's somewhere that they've been really good at. They're playing two teams that have struggled this year so far, been pretty, both below 500, I believe. I believe San Diego's below 500 at this point. They've really struggled recently, so they got to take advantage, get back over 500 because it feels like they're once again floating right below 500. They can never get, they finally got it on Thursday, in that Kansas City win when they took the series. They got it. They finally got the 500, immediately went back down. They they gotta get past that. They really, 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 really do because this is such an underrated team. Once again, they are top five, I believe, in the AL in run differential. They did this again last year. I believe they were second in the AL in run differential last year for an 81 and 81 record. They are on pace to not even be 81 and 81, and they are once again top five in the AL in run differential. They need to lock in, man. I'm just so tired of having to be these one step forward, two steps back team. It's been the last 3 years. They got to get something going, and I thought this was going to be it. Boston, man, the House of Horrors. Never mind.
It's unreal.
Same old team.
It's unreal, man. These guys just look unrecognizable every time they go to Boston, no matter how good the team is, really. And I want to get your thoughts on this other question too in a second, but I'm going to ask you about Jack Leiter because, man, it's getting hard for me to defend the poor guy. It's getting hard. It's getting hard for me too. I want to defend him. Kumar Rocker has made a really good jump this year, in my opinion. We've talked about and raved about him 2 weeks ago, and how he has been a real good leader as of late. Even starting at home for sure, he's much better inside Globe Life Field than on the road. But man, it's like when Jack Leiter gives up the long bomb, it's just a different game after that. And you saw it again on Friday. Now, Sonny Gray for sure had, a really good start as well. He's having a really good season, 8-1 record. I believe a 3 ERA around there.
Hmm.
And he has been way better and he deserves way more praise this year. It's just that he's on a bad team. And so he's not going to get as much love when you're playing for a team that's not nearly as competitive, especially a team that's the Boston Red Sox that's not living up to expectations that fired their whole staff pretty much. But
Yeah.
there's that stat they had floating around about what happens when the Rangers scored first. And at the time, I believe they were like 26-7 if they lead after the first inning. And so the Rangers score first on Friday. And then immediately, the Red Sox tie the game pretty much and then take the lead. Not too much after that. And
Hmm.
so you're still seeing the issue with Jack Leiter is I can't blame it on youth anymore. At this point, the pitch count is a big issue. He had like 5 innings and 103 pitches at the time when he got yanked.
Hmm.
Gave up 5 runs, I believe, again on Friday. And it's just hard to watch, man, for the guy because he just can't get out of his own way. Um, it's just hard to watch. I don't know what you think when you see him as of late, because there's some times where he's taking a good leap and then all of a sudden the wheels just fall off in the fourth inning, fifth inning, and just can't get to that sixth or seventh. We want him to get to that era of being quality. Yeah, that era of being a quality pitcher. But the pitch count gets in his way because he throws too many balls. So, what are your thoughts when you watch him as of late? Because that was a disappointing start for me this past Friday.
I don't know if you remember this, but my prediction at the start of the year was that he was going to be an all-star pitcher this year. I thought he was going to take a massive leap. He had a great end to his season in 2025. And then yeah, he just can't control his pitches and he has issues. I mean, it's not his issues with striking people out. He just gets in very long counts. He gets in very long
Yep.
counts. He also has not the biggest issue, but an issue with getting people on base with walks. And so, I mean, the thing about him is what was so disappointing about the Boston series is that he was on pace to finally start to come back, to being a good pitcher.
That's
Maybe
how it
not good,
always
but
feels,
a
man.
very serviceable starting pitcher. He was getting to that point. He had a terrible May. I want to make this clear. He had a ERA of 360 in the month of June. He had 6 starts, and that is that's very, very serviceable. I would take that as my number four starter in our rotation any part of the any day of the week. And then he had a terrible start against Cleveland just last week. Not too good. Couldn't even get the 5 innings. Gave up 5 earned runs. And then of course he has this complete meltdown against Boston. And having both of those starts back to back after having a very, very good um, June season after what he had started off with. He started off with a 5.17 ERA in the month of June, brought it down to 4.34 by the end of the month. Now he's back to five, just off of two starts in July or in June. Or I'm sorry, in a really good May month. And he came in the with a 5.17, brought it down to 4.34, two starts in June. Now he's already back up to five. And so, these stretches that he's having where he's letting up more than 3 earned runs, 4 earned runs, and these 5 inning stretches because he doesn't go long. You're just talking about that. He doesn't go long. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for me because he was such a highly touted prospect. And yeah, I mean, this is, it's getting to one of his last chances. I don't see the Rangers. Um, you know, I don't know what they're gonna have to do with him. I mean, what do you think they're gonna do with him?
I don't think he'll be in the roster next year. I don't know if he'll get traded at the deadline. I think they'll let him finish
I don't
out
think he'll
this
get
year.
traded.
Yeah, definitely not. But I don't think he'll be on the roster on next season for the majority of next season for sure. It's hard for me to see that based off how he's just performed at the beginning of his career. Kumar Rocker is definitely taking a step,
Hmm.
I think for sure, to being a reliable, third or fourth starter. But it's just hard to watch the guy. Just no control sometimes.
Yep.
I do feel like sometimes he's unlucky. Sometimes he's unlucky. I feel like he's right there to finishing off a batter with two strikes, and he just keep fighting off pitches, keep
Hmm.
fighting them off foul territory. A ball drops in, shallow outfield. He fights with these big old ABs and just cannot get those strikeouts like the fourth or fifth inning when his arm starts to get a little bit more worn. And so I feel bad for the guy in that regard because I know he's given an effort. He has given an effort. You can see in his face that he really cares. He's an intense, kind of tough individual, and it just sucks it doesn't work out better for him. I hope he can find a way to bounce back after this start on Friday. But
Hmm.
offensively, you saw his offense not help out Jacob deGrom, who historically he's been used to not getting much help. 1 for 9, the offense was in scoring position on Saturday. And again, you talked about it. Great pitching staff, great starting staff, I should say, that
Yeah.
the Red Sox have. They had plenty of opportunities, this Rangers team, to fight back on Saturday, but could not do it, and it led to again dropping the series at Fenway Park. Nicky Lopez has been a big surprise revelation the last 2 weeks, climbing up on a minor league deal in this offense. You've seen Michael Hellman get more playing time based on how inconsistent Evan Carter has been, which is also a little bit disappointing here and there. I could point out to AB where Carter looked a little bit just unrecognizable, lifeless, was guessing at the plate on Friday night, just half-hearted swings. And, it's really disappointing from the young player in his regard. But Josh Young still keeping up a pretty solid season this year, hitting 307. Wyatt Langford starting to heat up, I'm thinking, from
Hmm.
that leadoff spot. And so the offense, I'm not really worried about. Not at all. And not nearly as much as I used to be a month or so ago. And of course, last year. I think this offense can hang in there for most of these games, but it just was not their weekend against a really stellar staff in the Red Sox. But yeah, Jack Leiter, man, we had to have a talk about that this episode because it's hard to watch sometimes, and you hate to see it with the young players who you have hope for. But hopefully he can bounce back. Look forward to seeing what he can do as the Rangers will play against Minnesota as they return to Globe Life Field, the hectic DFW Metroplex this next few weeks.
Yeah.
As of course the World Cup is still going on there. There's going to be a lot of people stuck down there in Arlington, Texas, and the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I
The
mean,
place to be.
unbelievable. I don't know if you saw what it's been like with the Netherlands and Japan and the fan bases they've had there, but around Cowboy Stadium, it's a madhouse around there, and they're bumping
Hmm.
up those ticket prices. Also, the parking ticket prices. I saw a sign of a $140 parking fee. Unreal. That is criminal.
And the yen is depreciated compared to the US dollar. I mean, it's just even more expensive. That's so unfair. That's really unfair.
Very unfair. And this is already a place, by the way, that is not walkable. Texas is not a walkable state. You got to really commute by car most
And it's
places you
really,
go.
really, really hot compared to
Yep.
those countries.
Oh,
Really
yes.
hot compared to
Yeah.
those right now. And they're going to be walking in that Arlington pavement, man. There's going to be a few, I mean, I hope not, obviously, but, there's going to be a few people who won't be able to handle the heat
Well, seems
outside
like
that
some of these
stadium.
players can't even handle the heat, man. The
The
fact they're
hydration
doing
breaks.
these hydration breaks are ridiculous. Ridiculous. Now, I know
Yeah.
we're saying this is
Okay.
American sports fans where they have media timeouts and they have breaks, but come on, tell me some of these guys are sprinting every single play of a soccer game. They're not. They're not. They
Well,
don't
then
need a
if
hydration
we're
break.
doing it American sports, then why don't they stop the clock during it?
Yeah, you keep it freaking going,
But
man.
you
I
have to
don't
keep
know.
the clock going. You have to keep the
Uh,
clock. But we have to do hydrate. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure everyone, but I don't think there's a single person in this world that's like, yeah, no, I could go. I like the hydration break.
that was one of my
Hey, give me
gripes
some
with my
commercials.
buddy. It's one of my gripes with my buddy last night. Like, why don't they just have the clock going all the way down instead of up and then just stop it when someone's hurt or when they have a hydration break? So you can have a countdown effect to the timer instead of just going up and then adding stoppage time.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
I honestly wonder why they never do that. I've never understood the time going up in soccer, but anyways,
Football.
that'll do it for episode 118 of the 214 Sports Show. We do invite you to listen to the full length podcast on Spotify and YouTube every Monday at 10 a.m. Central. It's been another fun episode talking a little bit about the World Cup, the NBA Finals, and Jalen Brunson, a former Dallas Maverick legend's hand in winning that title. A big drought that has snapped in the New York Knicks' long history. One of the first few teams in the NBA. Finally, they can get that championship they've long desired. Also, talking about the Texas Rangers and our thoughts about them being in the roller coaster as they have been the last 2 years. Please follow our accounts on YouTube and Spotify. We also post each team and each segment on there separately afterwards. You can also follow our YouTube, Spotify, and also our TikTok and Twitter and Instagram accounts as well for segments of historical moments in DFW history, some moments that we deem worthy of your opinions based off our takes. TJ, do you want to give your socials really quick?
Yeah, yeah, man. We can, yeah. So Instagram, TJ.Krilowicz, and then on X, TJ_Krilowicz, and follow me on my new National Park Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube
What?
account called Trail Rated NP.
Wait a
We'll
minute.
be making
What?
some videos. I just went to Colorado, making some content right there.
Okay.
If you care, you're still watching. If you care.
Say that one more
You like
time.
you like going to national parks. Look at that. I already got a new follower. Trail
I
Rated
yeah,
NP.
I didn't know you had this. You just launched this today or what?
Yeah, yeah, it's just a little soft launch.
Little
Now hard
nature,
launch.
little
So
nature channel. I like it, TJ.
yeah, why
You
not? Why not? I have nothing to do for the next month and a half until I start my fellowship. So
Are you using your like phone camera or just some other camera you have?
my phone camera for right now, maybe a little bit of GoPro action, but I'm trying to get a professional camera once I get a few months of income in my account, then I'll get a camera.
I didn't realize it either, but I found a love for hiking and going in parks in the last year. I didn't realize how much I've missed, man. But it's been
It's
awesome. Just
spiritual.
dude, it feels great. Just good release just to go
Feels
out there on a
great.
walk and kind of break a sweat, going up a hill and seeing some cool things that
Feels
may
like a
take your
break
breath
from
away.
the world.
Definitely does. Definitely does. Blows my mind how that's just creation and all just stuff that it's just natural. So it's wild. So good you got to experience that in the last few years going around the parks. I will tune into that channel soon. But you can follow me at Joseph_Duffey99 at Twitter/X, and also the same thing on Instagram if you want to, or at Joe_Duffy on TikTok. Once again, follow our accounts at 214 Sports Show on YouTube, X, TikTok, and Spotify. That'll do it for episode 118. For TJ Krilowicz, I'm Joseph Duffy. We'll see you next week on episode 119.